more people in our country. That is what our manifesto is all about. We've created 2 million jobs so far. Let's create another 2 million jobs to have full employment in our country. We've paid down half that deficit. Let's clear the rest of the deficit and make sure we don't load up debt for our children to have to pay. Let's keep our economy growing, keep generating those livelihoods and those jobs. And let's make sure as we do that we give people some good news by letting them keep more of their hard-earned money to spend as they choose. Under this government, you're going to earn £10,600 before you start paying tax. Under the next Conservative government, it'll be £12,500, so people on the minimum wage working 30 hours a week will pay no income tax at all. That's what we're going to do for people who It's about jobs, it's about taxes, and it's about building homes that people can buy and own. I still have that dream of a property-owning democracy, where if you work hard, you put in, you save, you can afford that home of your own. And that is why we're saying, if you're a housing association tenant, you should be able to buy your home, just as council tenants did before. That's why we're saying we're going to build 200,000 starter homes, not for property investors, not for the buy-to-let landlords, but for young people under 40 to buy and own themselves. That's what our manifesto is all about. It is a manifesto for working people. And for working people, not just in their working lives, but also for when they retire. We say, in this country, if you've worked hard, if you've saved, if you've done the right thing, you should have that dignity and security in your old age, which is why we've uprated the pension by wages, prices, or 2.5%, the so-called triple lock, so that we can look pensioners in the eye on the doorstep knowing they've got £950 more in their pension than when I became Prime Minister 5 years ago. That's the dignity and security. We have a very positive message, based on our record, based on our plan, based on our vision for the future. But I've also come here with a very stark warning. And that stark warning is that in 16 days' time, all this good work could be put to an end, and our economy could be threatened. I've watched Ed Miliband these last 5 years, and I know that he has opposed each and every decision that has got our economy to this point. Every difficult decision on spending, every reform of welfare, every encouragement to business and enterprise has been opposed. And with a Labour government, we would be right back to square one. All the work of the last 5 years would be put to waste. But this election, which was always a high-stakes election, always a big choice election, the choice has just got bigger. The stakes have got that much higher. Because we know a simple fact that has been introduced into this election, which is that Labour is facing wipeout in Scotland at the hands of the SNP. This is not an opinion, this is increasingly a fact. And that fact has a consequence. It means that Labour cannot form a government on their own. They can only get in on the coattails of Alex Salmond, Nicola Sturgeon and the SNP. And that raises some very big risks for our country. And I want to explain what they are. Because for the first time in our recent history, a group of nationalists from one part of the country would be forming part of the government of all of our country. And you have to ask yourself, in that case, would England, would Wales, would Northern Ireland get a look in? And I have to say, I think the answer is no. These people don't come to Westminster to make our government and our country stronger. They come to Westminster wanting to break up our country and break up our parliament. And here are the risks. Clear and present danger, number one, is that they will put an end to the plan that is working, that is creating the jobs, that is creating the livelihoods, that is turning our country around. Clear and present danger, number two, is that this would mean an endless process of negotiation and haggling and ransom and, frankly, blackmail. And what that would mean is the government of our country would come to a juddering halt. And when the government comes to a juddering halt, pretty soon the economy comes to a juddering halt. And when the economy comes to a halt, the jobs come to a halt, the investment comes to a halt, the enterprise comes to a halt. That is what we're facing. But the clear and present danger, number three, is because you would have a government held to ransom by nationalists from one part of the country. What would happen to the investment we need here in Halifax? What would happen to the electrification of our railway lines? What would happen to the plans for high-speed rail? What would happen to the improvements, for instance, the A629 that we need? All those things would be at risk. And if you think that is scaremongering, just consider this. In the last 48 hours, The SNP have said no investment in defence unless you get rid of Trident. That is a form of ransom and blackmail. They've said no HS2 unless it starts in Scotland. That is a form of ransom and blackmail. So this is a clear and present danger facing our country. But here's the good news. We have the answer. And the answer is standing right next to me in Philip Allen. We are just 23 seats short. We're just 23 seats short of an overall majority. If we can elect Philip here in Halifax and 22 other members of Parliament around the country, in addition to what we have now, we can carry on with the plan that's working, with those extra jobs, with those tax reductions, with building those homes, with improving those schools. We can do it. We can not only continue with the plan, but we can prevent the threat of this toxic tie-up between Labour and the SNP. So I would urge you, in these last 16 days, with everything that you've got, get out on the streets, knock on those doors, deliver those leaflets, work for this man who'd make a great member of Parliament for Halifax, but not just standing up for Halifax, making sure we win the fight in our country, a fight for jobs, a fight for our economy, a fight for our future, and yes, a fight for our country. Let's go for it. Thank you.